I'm now going to ask the employer reps if they could come and present there. So we've got Belinda Brands from Mr Apple, we've got Cherie Drummond from Fairfield Orchards, and we've got Lee Dupree from Hortis. Give them a hand, thank you.
One is it? Oh, easy. Hi everyone, I'm Lee from Hortis, for those that might not know me. On behalf of RSE employers here, we would like to extend a very warm welcome to our Pacific and Timor-Leste partners for taking time out your very busy schedules to share your wins and also your challenges that you're experiencing. And we look forward to collaborating with you to enable solutions. So we had a range of employer feedback around 3 priority areas yesterday. The first, and in no particular order, strengthening MSD engagement, pastoral care, and enhancing engagement with the LMUs. So I'll be speaking to and focusing on enhancing engagement with the LMUs, and I'll hand over to Cherie, who will be doing the MSD feedback, and Belinda, who will be presenting on pastoral care feedback. So when we look at enhancing engagement with LMUs, it really boils down to a good starting point being understanding their micro and their macro challenges that they experience and face every day. Then we can look at how we as employers can support them and achieve the nation's strategic objectives. We've heard earlier on today around just how much the role of an LMU has evolved and changed, and that it's no longer just recruitment and mobility that they're responsible for. And so when you look at the wider compass of that, reintegration is a massive thing that they are now having to deal with. We take out of the country, what are we doing as employers to give back to the country in that space? And so when we look at the role of the LMU evolving, we also have the role of employer evolved over time to where we are today. Thanks, Cherie. I'm not good with slides, as you all know. So if we look at that, and we look at the role of an employer, we almost now have a social license to operate through the full RSE life cycle. And in terms of that space, we don't just employ an RSE, we employ their family, we employ their communities, and we also have obligations in that space to support them. It's also our responsibility, if we look at supporting and enhancing our relationships with LMUs, is providing them with the support in the reintegration space. And that responsibility that we as employers carry is to provide our RSE with an exit strategy from the program. You know, they're all going to need to leave the program at some point. And in that space, they all are going to need income diversification for when they're no longer in RSE. And so when we look at that in terms of employer roles and responsibilities, it really starts at the point of direct recruitment, getting to know our people, understanding their cultural goals, understanding what their villages actually need, because they're all the same in many respects, but they're all very uniquely different, and every village is at a different stage. And so being on the ground, being present, that's how we enhance that relationship, not just with our RSE, but with our LMUs as well. We know that they're under-resourced, we've heard that, we've seen that, and so they also rely on us to sometimes bring solutions to the table and create and lead reintegration projects that actually change and support and provide those social, economic, and environmental well-being for their people and their communities as well. Our role doesn't start and stop when the RSE arrive and when they depart. Pastoral care in that space forms a huge part of reintegration projects, and it really comes down to RSE goal setting that's tied in with their village community plans and aspirations. What are we doing as employers that actually ties in the individual RSE goals to the wider community objectives and aspirations? And how can we support LMUs a little bit better in that space? And so that's what we want to challenge ourselves with. Having a really great reintegration program, an RSE feels connected to their community when they're with us in New Zealand, but also when they go back home, because that's the gap that we also sometimes forget, is how do they reintegrate, how do they re-immerse themselves back into that community for 5 months or on a permanent basis when they're no longer an RSE. And so when we look at that, I think in terms of well-being, how can we really enhance relationships with LMUs? This is a real core need, not just for them in terms of getting those ideas out and actually implementing and helping and supporting and driving some of these projects. It's around the day-to-day stuff as well, expectations and roles that have evolved. Goal setting is not a set once, set and forget. It's something that we need to constantly be looking at and working through with our RSE, with their communities, and with the LMUs. And I would just like to say thank you to all of the LMUs that are here, because we all know that you want to do this for your people, and we've had tremendous support from you so far. And we're grateful for that because we can see the impact that it has long term as well. And so part of that aspect in terms of enhancing relationships, I guess the keys are be present, bring some solutions to the table, actively implement them and communicate. Work with your RSE, understand them, know them, spend some time on the ground with them. The village elders have got lots of aspirations for their villages. Help put a support plan in place for that. And that also links back to pastoral care. It doesn't start and stop from the time that we have them with us. In terms of pastoral care too, it's not a singular role. It's not a person in a seat that does the role. It's a wider company culture that we want to foster and grow. And in that space, we learn every day. And I think being open to learning and understanding our RSE, their communities, their villages, their regions, challenges that they face when they're with us and when they're not with us. So I think when we're looking at enhancing our relationships with LMUs, be present, give it a go. If you're not sure about something, they're there to help. But we also need to accept our responsibility around how our role as employers has evolved. And so with that, I will hand over to Cherie, who will give some MSD.
Hopefully you can figure out how to go backwards. All right. Hi everybody, I'm Cherie Drummond from Fairfield Orchards in the Motueka region. So we had our three key outcomes that the Employers Forum came across. So maybe this isn't relevant for the labour sending units, but strengthening our partnership with MSD was one that came up. Now, I know that every RSE employer has grown their business with the introduction of the RSE scheme. Without that security of labour, we haven't been able to grow our businesses. So I'm sure everyone is probably like us, and that we have grown our New Zealand permanent workforce by 350% since we've been involved in the RSE scheme. So every RSE employer is committed to engagement with MSD. But the challenges that we find here, the expectations of what engagement means seems to be varied throughout the country. And that was really evident yesterday with the different conversations and the expectations, basically varying from region to region. And then the other challenge is sometimes the applicants that are put in front of us aren't actually suitable to what we need in our businesses. So we've come up with some solutions though. So solution one is really acknowledging maybe another government department and how they've handled dealing with RSE employers. And what we asked for is maybe having a system to advocate within MSD on when we're confused or need further direction, and having an ability to perhaps take that next step up and escalate our queries and issues. Solution 2, I can't quite see from there, is more about us as the employers, and perhaps, you know, when we list our positions, we might just be saying, I need 37 apple pickers, and maybe giving clearer expectations. So about, you know, can you provide us with workers that can go up a ladder, that can work 6 days a week from 7:30 to 5, and actually providing a bit more of a framework about what type of employee works in our business. And I think MSD do a good job on our permanent employees, and when we set that, what we want in a person from a permanent worker, but maybe we need to work on how we frame what we require from MSD. And 3, maybe more engagement. I actually think that this may be happening because I noticed in my emails 2 days ago I got an invite to attend a South Island employer workshop with Craig Churchill and some other people. So maybe we're already there, but I think regionally what we can go back and do is talk to our regional labour supply groups and maybe meet more regularly, and then our chair people can go to the national monthly meetings and present our issues. So I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you. I must be the tech expert.
Kia ora, my name's Belinda. I'm from Mr Apple in Hawke's Bay. So I'm going to speak about our third key priority, which is pastoral care. It was actually really great to see when we, later in the afternoon, joined with our Pacific partners to see that this is actually a shared priority and key focus to come out of both the employer and the labour sending unit forums, so I'm sure they'll speak to this as well. But as employers, we acknowledge the responsibility and the importance of providing pastoral care to ensure worker wellbeing, and we've heard about it today. It's critical to the success of the RSE program. So some of the challenges that we identified included, firstly, there's no shared definition as such of pastoral care and what it means. As employers, we spent a bit of time discussing what pastoral care means, and obviously it encompasses many things, and overall things such as health, safety, cultural, spiritual, and social well-being of workers. There's also another challenge is around what does good pastoral care look like. So there's no set standard of what good versus poor pastoral care looks like. And then finally, the other challenge is around the lack of clarity around when pastoral care starts and ends. As employers, we all acknowledge that it's not a 9 to 5. It goes well beyond that. And we discuss things like, does it actually start before the worker leaves the country, and does it end post-departure? So the solutions, and which was really nice in this forum because we were looking for solutions, and what was proposed by the employers in the room was to co-design a succinct guiding framework. And the key here is that that framework needs to be developed together, a collaborative approach between the labour sending units, MBIE, employers, and really importantly, the RSE workers themselves. And we think that this framework should give us a clear reference point, and where possible, employers felt it should either incorporate or align with accommodation and transport, since these are closely tied to worker welfare as well.